Hey, Lions fans. I'm Drew here with Building the Pride. And today we're going to talk some Lions off-season stuff. Hope my mic's coming through okay here. I want to start off with this Terrion Arnold situation. So what has been reported is that Terrion Arnold, people linked to Terrion Arnold, have been involved in a kidnapping and robbery in Florida. Now, I guess initially it was reported that these guys, one of them is his cousin and one of them is like a former security guard that worked for him. This is why the news in our country sucks right now, is now they have walked that back where it's not his cousin and it's never been, the other guy's never been employed by Terrion Arnold. So what it looks like is happening is Terrion Arnold rented a home in Florida and these two guys are connected in some way to that house. And if that's the weirdest, if that's the connection, then like I would hate to be anyone who's famous, because it's like, oh, Drew, a famous whatever, rented an Airbnb in Tennessee, and then weeks later a murder was committed there. Was Drew a part of the murder? I mean, like that appears to be what is going on here. It's like, oh, we can link what's going on to like anyone that has any kind of above baseline humanity fame. Let's hit it. I don't think this has anything to do with Terrion Arnold whatsoever. I think it's just a weird coincidence. And it's in my opinion, this is total bullshit. But like, I hope I'm right about this one. All right, we already got a comment. Happy Friday. Let's effing go. TA bust anyway. Stop it. Okay, so like I happen to believe in Terrion Arnold. I mean, I'm going to give him this year. I'm going to give him this year before I come out with any kind of like has lived up to expectations. Are you willing to commit to this guy in the future? And I think that he has this year to basically say, like, to convince Brad Holmes at least that like you're a part of the team moving forward, right? In some capacity. Are you CB1? Probably not. Are you a guy that we're going to give like a Derek Barnes-esque second contract to? You know, like not top of your position group money, but like we want to keep you on the team. I don't know. We will see how he plays this upcoming season. But what I want to do today is I want to have a talk about the direction that the Detroit Lions might be going this offseason. So this is going to be like, I think this is going to end up being a lot of tangents. So if you like tangents, if you like weird takes, then this might be an episode that you want to pay attention to. And if you don't like that kind of stuff, then I apologize. I guess I kind of have to vent a little bit here. So, okay. So in preparation for this chat, I looked up some stats that I was hoping would either like confirm or deny my opinion as to what went on last season. And so like the Lions, so here are the things that I think happened last season. The Lions were 9-8 and they missed the playoffs. They finished 4th in the division on tiebreakers, right? They still have, depending on which site, like ESPN or PFF or Sumer Sports or Next Gen Stats, if you're looking at those sites, I think the thing that they have in common is that Detroit's offense was pretty good, like top 10 offense, however you want to chop it up, yards gained, points scored, EPA per play, like that kind of thing. Like they are top 10 offense, like in the way that people gauge how good the offense is performing overall. The defense was not as good, right? So like it was not bad. I mean, but it was league average. And that's saying something considering the injuries that they've now experienced for the second year in a row. But the thing that I think really dipped last season was how effective the running game was. And like, this is not news to people who have watched Lions game in 2025. But like, I think that they were able to get like Jahmyr Gibbs to produce a lot of stats, like yards from scrimmage, touchdowns scored. He did a great job at that stuff. And like, he's very clearly a pillar of the team moving forward. But like, I think the thing that they lost last year, whether it was because of John Morton or Dan Campbell calling plays, is that they became less efficient in the running game. And so I think a lot of people, to some degree, rightly, have put the blame for that on the fact that like Frank Ragnow retired, Kevin Zeitler moved on to the Tennessee Titans, and they were playing two young guards, and Graham Glasgow moved to center, right? So very clearly, to restate things we've already said, like moving from Frank Ragnow to Graham Glasgow is a downgrade. Probably Frank Ragnow to anybody is a downgrade. Ratledge was a rookie. They don't typically perform very well. And Christian Mahogany, who had played well in 2 or 3 games in 2024, played in, I believe, 12 or 13 games this last season and was not as good as Tate Ratledge, right? And so he also didn't play in all the games, and over the 2 years that he's been in the NFL has not played a full season's worth of games yet. So we have 2 young interior offensive linemen and a clear downgrade at center, and then the run game became less efficient. My opinion is that the move away from David Montgomery being a consistent part of the offense, especially early in games, also contributed to the lack of efficiency. My reasoning for that is the Lions found themselves in a lot more of like 2nd and 8s, 3rd and 6s, and didn't have that kind of quality down and distance that they had experienced in years prior, primarily under Ben Johnson, that allowed the play calling and Jared Goff to like exist in the kind of situations that they felt comfortable in, that allowed them to be like, well, we can call, if it's 3rd and 4, we can call a 2-yard run, and then we have an option to go for it on 4th down where we feel pretty comfortable in like going for it, right? So the Lions experienced a good deal of like 3rd and longs. They were not able to get off the field, and therefore a lot of drives stalled out. And yet, because of these things, whatever percentage you want to put on them, the Lions still had a top 10, top 5 offense in the NFL, and yet we're 9 and 8. So naturally, to fix this problem, naturally, I think the fan base wants to see the Lions put resources into the interior of their offensive line, however that shakes out. Are you going to sign a center in free agency? There's a lot of people that want Tyler Linderbaum. I think that Tyler Linderbaum is probably likely to hit free agency and therefore will be the best center on the free agent market. And I think that he does not do the things that Detroit wants to do in the running game. Sorry. I think that Tyler Linderbaum is the kind of tackle that you pull, or the kind of center that you pull, who then uses his movement skills and his athleticism to get out in front of a running back and be a lead blocker. He is not the kind of center that is going to move another defensive tackle off the ball. And that's the kind of guy that the Lions have traditionally wanted to be their center, is the people mover, what is it called? The planet theory, where you're your offensive linemen are the same size as planets. Like they're just enormous people that are incredibly strong and are able to move another human being away from where they want to be. And Tyler Linderbaum is not those things. So like, while I don't dispute his talent, I dispute his fit with the Detroit Lions. Now, I don't know that somebody like Eric Schlitt or Jeremy Reisman over at Pride of Detroit, I don't know if they would agree or disagree with me. I usually feel that whatever take I have on football, I'm disagreed with. Would love the best center that Brad can get that fits this team. Obviously, round one tackle, please. Decker has 16 days to make. Yeah, you've been doing this countdown, Donkey Kong. I saw you yesterday on the, I think it was Pride of Detroit's midweek mailbag. You had the countdown going on there in the chat as well. So and keep going, so we make sure that we don't forget. I'm assuming that you're counting down to the new league year, or maybe some guarantee of money to Taylor Decker that's written into his contract. I'm not sure, but either way, you're probably right. Like the decision point is rapidly approaching. And I'll do another mock draft today because I love doing mock drafts. So I do think that like my leading candidates for a free agent target are something like Connor McGovern from Buffalo, assuming he hits free agency, and then Cade Mays from Carolina, assuming that he hits free agency. So one of those two guys would be people I would want to talk to if I was in Brad Holmes' office. So let's assume for the rest of today that Detroit goes out and they sign a veteran center. The tier 1 option to me would be Connor McGovern. The tier 2 option would be Cade Mays. And they bring one of those two guys in. Okay, so now you don't have to move Tate Ratledge from right guard to center, which I think is the appropriate thing to do, is to keep him at right guard. There are some lines of thought out there, and I heard this yesterday on the Pride of Detroit cast, that like Jeremy Reisman feels that it is easier to move Tate Ratledge to center and then find a quality starting right guard in either free agency or the draft. So, and it's hard to argue with that. Like, offensive guards are one of the positions that make it to free agency and are quality starters. And like, it is one of the positions that if NFL teams are looking to save on their salary cap space, that they will cut in the hopes of being able to replace them with a 22 to 24-year-old rookie, that they're either going to pay $1 million or less, because they're a late day 2 or day 3 pick. So I would be looking for Detroit to have as much continuity on its offensive line as possible, which means you keep people in the spots that they were playing in so that they can grow into those positions. And you supplement that the best that you can to work people into that established continuity. So as of right now, and Donkey Kong's pointed this out, thank you very much, is that Taylor Decker is still on the team. Like, Taylor Decker is or has not retired. Like Graham Glasgow is still on the team. He has not been cut. He has not been traded. He has not retired. So without information on what those two players are doing, it becomes very difficult to figure out which direction the Lions should go in free agency and therefore, or in the offseason, right? So we're going to get the scouting combine next week. Obviously, the Lions will be there in force, and they are going to do their due diligence on players that they have early takes on whether or not those players would be a fit for this team. The culture, the height, weight, speed, the overall talent, can we work you into what we want to do on offense under Drew Petzing and Mike Kafka? So we're getting to the point in the season, where in the offseason, my season, the Lions offseason, where direction is going to need to be determined. And so I wanted to do what my take was on it today. So my first take on it is the Lions right now. Let me see if I can bring some of this up here, and we can talk about the actual numbers and look at things. And it'll be great. So this is where I really wish that I had Mike. Mike is swamped, and which makes sense because I got to do the show during his work day now because I work on second, which is fine. I like working on second just fine. I don't have any problem with it, but at the same time, like, it's ruined our mutual availability to one another. Okay, so here we go. Let's find the Lions. Oh, look at this. So the Lions are sitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth worst cap position in the NFL. By the start of the new league year, they have to be at least $1 under. I believe it's $1 under the cap. The Vikings, the Vikings are $43 million over the cap. That's rough. Don't hate seeing that though. So the Lions are 9.6 over the cap's calculations on it as of today. And so there are some real easy things that they can do in order to free up plenty of cap space. Namely, and this has been covered by a lot of different agencies, they can restructure or extend players on their roster to spread out the guaranteed money over multiple years. So the number one guy that the Lions can restructure in order to free up cap space is Jared Goff, right? So Jared Goff, they're going to pay $69.6 million. That's his cap hit this year. And I think that they can restructure, I believe, like up to $50 million of that 69.6. So let's assume that, let's say they freed up $50 million in cap space. They also would have about $20 million that they finished the 2025 season with, that they will apply to have that roll over. So that would be something like $70 million. So you take away the difference here. Let's call it 10. You've got $60 million in cap space. You need $10 million for your practice squad. You need about $10 to $15 million for your draft. So let's call it 20. So now we're down to $30 million. So then that's usually what they want to go into a season with, somewhere between $20 and $30 million. So they have the flexibility for like practice squad elevations, in-season signings, tradability. You know, if who knows, maybe they would end up as part of a NFL trade deadline date trade, and they need the cap flexibility to bring in or send a player out. Brad has valued flexibility when it comes to reaching a decision point throughout his tenure in Detroit. So what that's going to look like, and what it's looked like up until this point, is Brad is going to go out into free agency and find enough players so that if they had to play a game the day before the draft, they can field a team. And that means that they can go into the draft and they can utilize whatever approach you want to call their approach. Best player available, primary flexibility, whatever you want to call it. He's not going to be buttoned down or forced into a corner to make a decision. And so they're going to figure that out. So, all right. So they could reschedule. They could also restructure Amon-Ra St. Brown, Ali McNeil, Penei Sewell, and free up a lot more cap space. So if they wanted to be aggressive in free agency, they have the ability to do that. We'll see how much of that they want to, quote unquote, kick down the road. And just to go back to the Jared Goff example briefly, like if they restructure $50 million of Goff's contract, they could add a void year to the remainder of his contract, giving it a 5-year window between years on the active roster and void years that come after being off the active roster. And they could basically say, we're going to spend his $50 million worth of cap hit over $10 million each year over the next 5 years. And so the thinking there is that if you push money out into the future, the cap will go up, and like the $10 million that you owe next year is a smaller chunk of the overall cap than it would be this year. So, but eventually you do have to end up paying all of that money. So don't do it so much that you have this huge credit card bill, at the end of the month, kind of analogy. So So to me, there's another layer to like the offensive line concern. So like this year, Jared Goff was sacked as often as he has ever been sacked in the NFL. So it was he was under the most. The way to say it is that he has been under the most pressure he ever experienced this year, and yet he was like 4,500 yards, a 3-to-1 touchdown ratio, as adjusted completion percentage was over 70. So like he played exceptionally well for the majority of the season. So here's my question. If this was the most pressure that Jared Goff's ever faced, and those were the results without like the offensive coordinator turnover, if he goes into this season and he and Drew Petzing are on the same page and he was able to perform like that last year, and now there's going to be like continuity and play calling from one source, like I would expect Jared Goff to play better. Right. And so the Lions were able to achieve these things. A top 5 offense, their passing game was on point. The only real drawback was running efficiency and the amount of pressure that Jared Goff found himself under. If you can clean that up with the same players, I mean, and I don't mean clean it up entirely. I just mean clean it up to the point where it's not not as bad. I think that the offense is fine. I mean, I don't have any problem with them going out and signing a center. I don't have any problem with them drafting. If they wanted to spend a 4th round pick on like, what's his name, Pat Coogan or whatever from Indiana to be like, you're the primary backup center, there's no doubt. So it's we signed Cade Mays and then we drafted Pat Coogan. And those are the 2 centers that we have on the roster. The plan is in place. Like if they do that, that's fine. I have no issue with that. That's a smart allocation of resources, in my opinion. But like if they were also like, like we're going to, maybe we'll sign Cade Mays and Graham Glasgow's still on the roster, and we'll, maybe we restructure part of his contract, and save a couple $1 million. Like I don't care about that. Like that seems fine. Graham Glasgow as a backup is not a bad backup. As a full-time starter, maybe it's a little rough, but not as a backup. And then I think that you let Tate Ratledge and Christian Mahogany grow into their roles that they played last season, and if they each take even a moderate step forward in technique, health, experience, continuity, playing along the same players, like training camp in, training camp out, week 4 in, week 4 out, that kind of stuff. Like I think that you'll see them get better, and then I think that the problems that they experienced with the interior offensive line will be mitigated to some degree. If the only acceptable outcome is that the Lions return to the level of play exhibited with Frank Ragnow and Kevin Zeitler, I don't know that that's even achievable. Like you need a player on par with Frank Ragnow, and the only one that's like that is Tyler Linderbaum, and I don't think that he is a scheme fit for the Lions. And then you have to go out and find like a Pro Bowl caliber right guard. And if that's the case, like what are you doing with Ratledge, right? So the only thing I can think of to do is to turn him into a Pro Bowl guard. So I've had the following conversation with a friend of mine at work. So Josh, if you're watching, this is for you. So the thing that we've already talked about is that the offensive line needs to be better for Jared Goff, right? And I think a lot of people, especially if you watch the show, know that like I do not believe that Jared Goff is enough of a quarterback for the Lions to win a Super Bowl. I just don't think that he. I think that he is. I think that the Lions have built their offense to highlight what Jared Goff is good at, which is to throw the ball in the middle of the field between 5 and 15 yards, and he does a very good job of not turning the ball over, even though every year he has one game where he's like responsible for like 4 turnovers. And that has risen the floor of the team to a level where they don't make a ton of mistakes, they don't turn the ball over much, and they have an efficient, manageable offense, right? And the players that they have surrounded Goff with all have a very real impact on what makes Jared Goff good. So you have Jameson, you have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Those are two guys that can create explosive plays in the running game for different reasons. Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs has his speed and shiftiness. David Montgomery is difficult to tackle and is one of those backs that always falls forward for another yard, right? So like Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic is there for the explosives and Knuckle is there for like the down and distance projection, like the chain moving type of player. Sam Laporta is your intermediary center of the field mismatch tight end, receiving tight end. Amon-Ra St. Brown is your crisp route runner, chain mover, high volume target, doesn't drop the ball hardly ever wide receiver. All pro. I believe he's a 2-time all pro now. And then Jameson Williams is your, you have to keep the Vic Fangio defenses, the too high safety looks scared. And even if Jared Goff, I don't believe that Jared Goff throws a deep ball particularly well. But if Jameson Williams is running, with 5 yards of, between him and the next defender, and Jared Goff can just put a ball out that Jameson Williams can run under, that's enough, So he is a decoy for the large part, and they occasionally mix in like a deep crosser or something that can get him moving laterally across the field so he can utilize his speed. And like they are able to threaten you with every skill position player that they bring out. And then, of course, you have the offensive line with like virtually a lock for the Hall of Fame at this point, I would feel, in Penei Sewell, a quality veteran in Taylor Decker. And then, of course, we have talked about the interior of the offensive line. But like all of those moves and all of the things that like Lions fans want to do is to make Jared Goff's job easier. And on paper, that sounds like an exceptionally good methodology moving forward. Here's my take. The Lions need to find some part of their team that has to be elite compared to what other teams in the NFL do. So like, here's an example. Like, we all watch the Super Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks secondary is elite, right? They have 2 real big difference makers on the team in Devin Witherspoon, who I believe would be a Lion if Seattle had passed on him, and Nick Emenwari, who they use as this kind of gadget, put him all over the field, go mess stuff up kind of player who's got this quintessential like height, weight, speed, athleticism. And they use that to put opposing teams in bad matchups, right? And we saw they blitzed Witherspoon like half a dozen times. He had a sack or maybe even 2 sacks and like numerous pressures and caused a lot of problems for the Patriots. But Detroit does not have anything like that, I think, across their team. The closest thing that we have to that, in my opinion, is the speed that they have in their skill position players on offense. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think Sam Laporta for his position is quite speedy. I feel like they should figure out a way to use that. But we have seen that even like a downgraded Detroit Lions offense is still a top 5 unit in the NFL. So to me, what this says is we should look at ways to make the defense particularly special or elite in whatever area that we can. And so heading into last season, I would have said that the way to do that is to find a way to make our safeties an even better force multiplier. Because you had Kirby Joseph, who was like good for 6 to 8 picks, for like the last couple of years, the ultimate kind of like roaming coverage safety in the NFL. And then, of course, you had your Swiss Army knife and Brian Branch, who I think needs to be the nickel. I want Brian Branch to be our nickel back, and to find a Nick Emanwari, more like heavy hitting, strong safety-esque kind of player to occupy the spot that he was in. But of course, we know that he tore his Achilles, so he will likely miss some time to start the season in 2026. And then if Lee McNeil is any indication, like it'll probably be the first full season after the season that you come back where he looks like the player he was prior to the injury. So I'm hoping that by 2027 we start to see Brian Branch do Brian Branch things. And I want him up around the line of scrimmage. I think that's where he causes the most havoc. So I'm going to do a mock draft in order to help kind of put some of these things into a better context. Also because I like it. So once again, I've switched from PFF to Mock Draft Hero. Detroit Fan Man recommended this, and I've used it a number of times. And I just really like this site. I think it does everything that I want it to do, and it's free. So let's kind of just generally recap here. I am going to be highly prioritizing offensive linemen, and I'm going to be looking for what players, if any, fall. I'm not going to trade up. So what players, if any, fall to the Lions that could be quote unquote special on defense. It's not likely to happen. I have 3 guys in mind, and we'll see if we get any of them to fall to us at pick 17. So we are going to use the NFL mock draft database, their big board, their consensus board, and we are just going to be picking for the Lions, and we're going to kick this thing off in just a few seconds. So, wow, I immediately lose people watching. Okay, interesting. So I am hoping here that either I get a chance to trade down or I get a quote unquote special player to fall to me at 17. And I do. Okay, so this is going to work out great. So here we are at pick 17, and the way that the board has fallen, I was looking for either Sonny Styles, who went number 10, to pair with Jack Campbell, or Jermod McCoy to be the number 1 corner for the Detroit Lions. Those were the 2 of the 3, but the other guy here is Caleb Downs. And so I'm in it, buddy. Let's go. All right, man, let's do it. So I'm going to pick Caleb Downs here in this mock. Now, I don't think that this is likely to happen in real life, but like whether Caleb Downs ends up being your nickel corner or like the Brian Branch replacement, he can play any of the 3 roles. He can play your coverage guy like Kirby Joseph. He could be your strong safety like Brian Branch was this last year, or he could be your nickel. I think the other thing that you think of is like in the best case scenario, Kirby Joseph come back next year. He's healthy and he looks like Kirby Joseph. Brian Branch comes back from his Achilles injury and he looks like Brian Branch. So why would we have drafted Caleb Downs? Well, number one, I think that the argument this year is that there's really only 3, maybe 4 blue chip players in this draft, and Caleb Downs is one of them. So if you are a best player available drafter, then Caleb Downs should be the automatic, that's your pick. He's not only the best player on the way the board has fallen, he's arguably the best player in the draft overall. So to get that guy at 17 is an absolute steal. Best player available regardless of position, Caleb Downs fits that bill. I also think that it would give the Lions the freedom to say, even though that they are one of the heavier base defenses in the NFL, the 4-3 base defense with 3 true linebackers on the field, I think this gives you the option to say, we are going to officially change our base defense to a nickel look. and then we will have 3 safeties on the field in Downs, Branch, and Joseph. And the worst case scenario is that Joseph isn't Kirby Joseph. Brian Branch comes back and he doesn't look like Brian Branch, and then you have an elite safety prospect to get that defense to still function the way that the Detroit Lions have wanted it to function. So I don't know that the Lions can miss with this pick, so I'm going to draft Caleb Downs. Okay, so now there's a real worry that like there will not be a so there goes Monroe Freeling. There goes Blake Miller. We didn't even get out of the first round, and we have to wait 20 picks into the second round. So I am hoping, is there anybody? So Max Henachor is the only other tackle that I really feel good about. And there he goes at 45. So we've missed out on the players that we wanted to pick up here, offensive line wise. So now what do the Lions do? Well, let's see. We've got, are there any, there's Gabe. Okay. There is Caleb Tiernan. He has the height, weight, speed. I think the Lions would like in a tackle. And I think that you could draft him this year and say, you're the new Dan Skipper. We're going to give you all the Dan Skipper reps to get you your rookie year like adjusted to the NFL. And then even if Decker is back, you could draft a tackle. You could have drafted a tackle in the first round. You could trade up for a tackle. You could can't be passing on a tackle. So you did not like the Caleb Downs pick. Okay. So understood. I understand that. So what we'll do then as kind of a mea culpa is I will take Caleb Tiernan here in round 2. I know that's not what people want, but I mean, it's also not bad. I mean, I don't think that he's bad. Tackle is extremely important. I agree. So remember, though, I mean, we have in this scenario, we have either signed Cade Mays or Connor McGovern in free agency, and until Decker is not on the roster, he is still on the roster. So I am going to treat the Lions roster as if Taylor Decker is still on it up until he is not. So there we go. And so this can be the offensive line right now would look like Taylor Decker, Christian Mahogany, let's say Connor McGovern, Tate Ratledge, and Penei Sewell. And I think that's, I mean, what was wrong with Taylor Decker this year? The fact that he was hurt, right? So he's a 10-plus year veteran. He's probably going to get hurt. That would not be a surprise, especially given his history on the team. And you at least have a guy in Tiernan who's played left tackle in the Big Ten for years. And if Decker was not able to play, you could have him play for Decker is my thinking. But remember, there are no perfect situations here. We'll do another mock draft, and hopefully it's overwhelmingly likely that we will end up having to draft, or we will end up be taking a tackle in round 1. So the way that this particular draft fell, let's just say, okay, this is an outlier. Okay, so here we are in round 4. We've taken a tackle and a safety. What else do we need? Remember, Brad is going to have a team that he's willing to put out onto the field prior to the draft. So I don't think we need to draft to fill specific needs. But what? Let's look at this guy. Anthony Lucas. 6'5", 285. That's a big guy. 21 years old. Elite raw power and ability to set a firm edge against the run, traits that made him a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. His disruption at the point of attack is a clear strength. Scouts are looking for more consistent pass rush refinement to unlock his high ceiling potential. So this guy sounds like we want, at a minimum, the guy opposite Aiden Hutchinson to be able to set the edge, right? And I would be surprised if Marcus Davenport was back on the team this year. We don't have a pass rusher that we can really pick up here. So let's pick up a guy that does at least the minimum well. And then who knows, maybe Ahmad Hassanine will show some pass rush chops, or maybe they pick up a veteran pass rusher in free agency that, or they re-sign Al-Qadim Muhammad, which would be excellent. Like if you can sign, let's say they take Anthony Lucas here in round 4, and they keep Al-Qadim Muhammad as, okay, you're basically going to be a third down pass rusher, and you're going to get something like Al-Qadim Muhammad, I think, got like something like 500 snaps this year, like half of what Aiden Hutchinson played. So you're going to get 500 snaps, and he had over 10 sacks, right? So like if you have over 10 sacks coming from across Aiden Hutchinson, that's pretty solid. And then as long as the other guy that's playing those remaining snaps is setting a firm edge and we're helping out in the run game, I think Detroit's defense is going to function pretty much the way that they want it to. All right, so who do we have here? We've got some. Ooh, I like this kid a lot. Ooh, I like this guy even more. Ooh, there's a lot of guys here. Okay. All right, so let's look at this guy, Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong? Yeah. So this guy, Trey Zune, 6'6", 315. According to PFF, which you may or may not use, Zune owned an FBS leading 96.9 pass blocking grade and notably was not flagged for a single penalty throughout the 2025 season. He has 49 career starts at left tackle. His primary strengths are his technical consistency, high football IQ, and durability, which is something that I think we would appreciate in Detroit. He is highly regarded as a high floor prospect with the versatility to play multiple positions across the offensive front. So here's the other thing about this guy. He can convert to center. So there's two left tackles, or two guys who played left tackle for their teams last year that are being talked about converting to center. And that is Brian Parker from Duke, who's off the board, and this guy from Texas A&M. So this is a guy that has left tackle, offensive center versatility. Okay. So I love taking this guy here to be like, if Caleb Tiernan is the new Dan Skipper, right? And then you draft this guy, then you have potentially, like say Decker retires in 2027. You have two guys that you could have competing and developing to play left tackle. And if Tiernan wins out, you can convert this guy to a center. And then he could be your starting center, or he could be your backup center. So I think that is pretty good. Pretty good stuff to take right there. I pass up on a lot of guys that I would rather have on the roster. I would want to draft Caden Curry or Jason Kennedy to be a pass rusher or like a nickel corner. Everyone's mad at me for how I'm drafting, so they're leaving the chat. Okay, so here we are, last pick in round 5. Ooh, I'm going to take this kid, Sam Roush. Now, he may not be here by the time he might move up in the draft to be like a day 2 pick. Roush is highly regarded for his reliable ball skills and his ability to adjust to difficult throws, which with Jared Goff throwing the ball, he'll need to. Utilizing his length to create separation. Having started 30 consecutive games to finish his career, he is viewed as a durable and polished inline blocker who thrives in physical, run-based offensive schemes. Scouts note his strong hands as a primary asset, though he may need to continue adding functional strength to handle professional defensive redirects. That is everything Detroit is looking for in a tight end. Well, that will happen. So, Yeah, it will happen sometimes, right? But not all the time, So, um, oh, here we go again. I forgot. We've got 2 picks within 10 picks of each other in on day 3. Okay, so what else are we doing here? So what else do we need? We need an interior offensive lineman, CB, and a linebacker. Okay, so let's look at this guy, Takario Davis. Now, this guy missed most of the 2025 season. Davis possesses elite height and ball skills that allow him to disrupt vertical routes and compete at the catch point against larger receivers. Scouts view his recovery from a late season health issues as a key factor, as his raw coverage traits remain among the best in the class. So this sounds like the kind of player that Detroit has valued in previous draft classes, like Levi and Wuzurike had health problems and they drafted him in the second round. Jameson Williams had health problems and they traded up to get him. Who else? There's got to be a ton of others, like Hendon Hooker blew out his knee and they took him in the third round. So, I mean, like, Brad Holmes has exhibited traits that say he's willing to draft injured players that they probably get clean medicals on, that says there's no reason why this guy can't be the player he was once he's healed up. So this guy, I think, would be like good competition for backup outside corner. So would he compete with Ennis Rakestraw? Could he replace, like, so Amik Robertson played a lot on the outside this last year. Would he compete for those snaps, like that kind of thing? Okay, so who else do we got? We could look for an interior offensive lineman or a linebacker. Looks like we've got some interior offensive linemen to choose from here in round 6. So Jeremiah Wright from Auburn. Let's see. Wright's collegiate career was defined by his resilience as he overcame a major ACL tear suffered during his freshman year to eventually start every game in both 2024 and 25. As a prospect, he is lauded for his raw power and leadership on the line, though he might improve his consistency in pass protection. So I don't know about that. Schrouth, I went to Notre Dame. Considered a high-level pass blocker who allowed 0 sacks across hundreds of snaps in the previous seasons, showcasing technically sound footwork and competitive fire in the trenches. His strengths lie in his advanced technical proficiency and leadership, making him a refined prospect for the offensive line. Okay, seems like somebody that might be interested in. And then this guy, Matt Gulbin, he is a center prospect. Strengths include elite pass blocking technique and high football IQ required to lead offensive lines pre-snap adjustments. Although he has spent most of his career at guard, his successful move to center significantly bolstered his draft stock by demonstrating valuable position flexibility. So this is the guy. He also played at Wake Forest, I believe, which runs a very run-heavy scheme. If I'm not, I might be confusing him with Georgia Tech, but I think I'm going to take Gulbin here. 6'4", 312 is a little lighter than what they wanted, but Wright's the only other guy that's much heavier. And both Schrouth and Gulbin are pass protectors, but Gulbin offers the center versatility. So I think that he would be competing with guys like Miles Frazier. Coyote Awoshika may not be on the roster next year, so he might get those kinds of snaps. And then what are we doing? Oh, we still have Schrouth. What about this guy? Keyshawn Elliott. Pre-draft profile is defined by his relentless motor and elite run-stuffing capabilities, traits that landed him on the butt kiss. His ability to diagnose plays quickly and consistency in high-leverage situations are most significant professional. I think that they need is a will linebacker. And we'll just see if there's any not a lot of linebackers. High volume tackler, versatility to force turnovers, evidenced by his career, 3 interceptions and 1 forced fumble. I don't know that I would consider that elite turnover production. Is there any coverage linebacker? They're probably all gone. Yeah, these are all run stuffing linebackers. Oh, this guy played really well. One other thing to consider is if they do not re-sign Let's take a quarterback to finish things out. If they do not re-sign Khalif Raymond, they might be looking for like a punt returning like wide receiver that might be like wide receiver 4 or 5 on their depth chart. Like I don't think that like if they draft a wide receiver, it's going to be primarily for his special teams capabilities. And like, you know, that guy might already be on the roster, and Dominic Lovett, the guy that they drafted last year, but then effectively did not play. So, just something else to keep an eye on. All right, let's take a look to see what we did. So, all teams, let's go to the Lions. Click. No, not all teams. I want the Lions. There we go. Click. All right, we took Caleb Downs, Caleb Tiernan, 2 Calebs, interesting. Anthony Lucas, Trey Zune, Roush, Takario Davis, Matt Goldman, and Cade Klubnik. So I think that like people would be upset. I think that Donkey Kong is probably correct. Like people are going to get locked into what they feel the Lions quote unquote should be doing, and every time that I have done that, I have been frustrated because Brad Holmes does something else. I think ultimately what's going to happen is if the player that Brad Holmes drafts ends up being a player that people see as, oh God, well, you're going to hate me. You're going to hate me, Donkey Kong. So this is the other guy that I think that the Lions should jump all over if he's there, which is Sonny Styles. If you put Sonny Styles next to Jack Campbell, I think you have 2 all-pro caliber linebackers, and then Detroit has the best linebacking core in the NFL. And then in 2027, I would move Brian Branch down to nickel, and then you effectively have a linebacking core of Jack Campbell, Sonny Styles, and Brian Branch, and that just sounds like no one's getting past that to me. So I will do a mock draft where we take a tackle in round 1, I promise. So there goes Proctor, there goes Freeling. Can Blake Miller make it out of the first round? There goes Lomu. There goes a Hennicher at 29. Wow. Okay, so Blake Miller went. Oh, really? He went at 34. So we do not have a tackle prospect. So if mock drafting is any kind of indication as to what is like the overall impressions of the NFL, all of the guys that we thought might be available in round 2 are going to go in round 1. All right, so took a linebacker. You trade down. Tiernan's still there. I wonder. So Gabe Yakas here from Illinois has been described by Eric Schlitt as Marcus Davenport without the injury history. And he'd be young and he'd be cheap. And he would do what they wanted Marcus Davenport to do. And when Marcus Davenport has played and not been hurt, he has looked quite good across from Aiden Hutchinson. So I'm going to take Yakas here as we're going to use the draft as a complete defensive overhaul. I promise you I will do it. The next draft, we will take a tackle. So, in fact, I'll speed this up a little bit so that we can get through this more quickly. But I would be pretty excited with these two picks. Plus, we still have guys. Oh, there goes Brian Parker, 96. Okay. Really wish we had a 3rd-round pick this year. Would have been nice. Oh, Kennedy went early. Wow. Oh, there goes Dalen Everett. That's a bummer. All right, so let's see. Let's look at the tackles. Filter by position. Offensive tackle. All right, get out of here. I wonder where they have Indiana's Carter. Did he not? Hang on. Google. Did Indiana's Carter Smith go back to college? Carter Smith announces return to Indiana. Oh, no. Well, that's why he's not on the. Oh, shit. I wondered why he was gone. Okay, so let's see. We're picking at 118 here. Let's look at Austin Barber. Major strengths are his experience as multi-year starter and powerful run blocking, though he needs to improve his pattern. So he's out. Drew Shelton. Shelton is recognized for his versatility, having seen time at center and guard early in his career. Been a durable presence the majority of his collegiate career. He has been dealt with a serious knee injury. All right. This guy, Cage Casey, is somebody that Eric Schlitt has highlighted that the Lions should look at the combine. Massive frame, excellent posture and pass protection, and a refined anchor technique that consistently negates power rushers. However, scouts have pointed out his strike timing and tendency to play too upright as areas that require further development at the next level. I've also seen Demetrius Crownover as a guy that some people have really liked. Let's see. His draft profile is defined by his massive frame and natural athleticism, which scouts believe was heavily influenced by his background as a high school basketball standout. His primary strengths include his reach and ability to neutralize speed rushers, though he continues to refine his pad level to better maintain leverage in the run game. Well, let's take this guy, Crownover, from was it A&M? They got a lot of people in this class. So all right. So let's look at who we've taken so far. We have taken Sonny Style, Gabe Yakas, and Demetria Crownover. So not exactly the class that I think everybody was hoping for here. But I will draft Pat Coogan to be an interior offensive lineman, backup center. This is going to be an easy pick for me. This is Kate. Oh, no, stupid Jets, always wrecking shit. I would have drafted Caden Curry here. I love Caden Curry. I think that I would really like having him on the Lions as like a third down pass rusher. I'll take Joe Royer here to help with the new tight end room, and like he can be backup Sam Laporta. He does similar things to Sam Laporta. I'll take Bishop Fitzgerald. Oh, there goes Sam Roush. Well, we got to take somebody different. I'll take Bishop Fitzgerald here to help with the safety depth and just see what happens with safety depth. And then Nate Borkerker. I think the Lions could draft 2 tight ends this season and maybe even bring in a UDFA to just help Petzing with like those 13 personnel looks. So, we're back on the Klein. Oh, there goes Marlon Klein. There's another good one. Taylon Green is somebody that's had a connection to Michigan through one of their new coaches, I believe. I kind of want to take another running back. This guy, Eric Gentry, is weird. Like, he is super tall and super thin, and his arms are like the longest arms I think I've ever seen on a player. He has length for days. I think that he'd be an excellent like special teamer and maybe like a developmental linebacker. We haven't picked a corner. I thought there was one up here. Oh yeah, Domani Jackson. So this guy was a 5-star recruit, I think, coming out of high school. Jackson's strength is his elite speed and size, gives him the physical tools to match up with outside receivers. All right, you can't teach speed and size, so let's do that. And then this next draft, we will pick tackle because Donkey Kong has been calling for it this whole time. No matter who else is on the board. Okay, I'm committing to tackle. Sonny Styles, Gabe Yakus, Crownover, Coogan, Royer, Fitzgerald, Borkirker, and Damani Jackson. I'm here for it. All right, let's start a new one, and let's see if we can't keep the lights on here. Okay, thank God Jermon McCoy went off the board. All right, let's see who we've got here. We got Proctor, Lomu, Monroe Freeling, Blake Miller, and a Henachor are the guys that I think are in this kind of bucket at tackle after. Yeah, no problem. I got you back. I know it took a while. I appreciate you sticking around. These are the guys that kind of come after like Noah, and you want to trade back? Okay. So I think Spencer Fano from Utah and Noah from Miami are going to be the two guys in tier 1 in this class. And then so these are the guys 22 or 23. I'll see what I can do. So Caden Proctor, I think everybody else just kind of has like one or two things that are like, why is it this way? All right, so let's see if we can do what he wants here. Okay, so here we go. We can trade with Pittsburgh. We would get their first round pick and we would pick up a third. That's kind of a classic middle of the first round move up. We can trade out of the first round. We can't do that because I will be eviscerated by Donkey Kong. And we can't do this because it's too far down. So the Pitt trade is the only one that we can do. So we're going to accept Pitt and we're going to drop down to 21. Okay, so Dallas took Proctor at 20. But other than that, we have our choice, of the remaining tackles. You want Freeling. Okay, we'll draft Freeling. All right, so let's take a look at Freeling. 6'7", 315. Let's see. As a draft prospect, he is recognized for his exceptional reach, mobility and pass protection, and road grading power in the running game. While he has proven to be a reliable starter at left tackle, he also offers significant versatility, having started at multiple positions along the 2024 season. Let me bring up PFF real quickly, and I'll bring up their mock board, and we'll see what they say about Freeling. 2026 big board. By position, let's do tackles. Let's do like this so I can see the goddamn thing. All right, let's see. So he has you can't see what I'm talking about here. So let me yeah, I got you, buddy. So here's what I'm looking at. His run blocking grade in 2025 was a 61.7. His pass blocking grade in 2025 was an 85.7. So that's elite. Really, really good. He played 9 games in 2023, 14 and 14. He's given up 3 sacks each year the last 2 years. And he has played he played 881 snaps this last year. 2024, he played 600. And then as a freshman, I'm assuming he played just under 200. So the only knock on Freeling from anyone that I've heard is that he just doesn't have a ton of experience playing tackle, right? But he has played, I would say he's played a year and a half, like the full year, almost 900 snap season this last year, played really well in pass pro. And the year before, he played half that number of snaps, but in all of the games. So I don't know. I would assume that means that he was the backup and that their starter got hurt, and he finished the season at left tackle for this guy. So let's take Freeling. Let's make sure I don't fuck this up here. Boom. Monroe Freeling, welcome to the Detroit Lions. All right, so we have traded down, and we have taken, I think, what the Detroit Lions want from a left tackle, which is primarily a pass-protecting tackle. And, like, if you get this guy snaps and comfortable or whatever, like, he's probably going to be, quote-unquote, your left tackle of the future, right? Played at Georgia. The Lions love players from Georgia. All right, so now I have questions about what we should do here. Let's take a look. So Yakus is off the board. Derek Moore is off the board. Zion Young is off the board. So that's a lot of pass rushers off the board. So I do think that the Lions are going to probably have to, between day one and day two, they are going to have to prioritize which way they want to go, right? And so if you go tackle, it's likely that you're going to miss out on edge rushers. If you go edge rusher, you're probably going to miss out on tackles, right? So, like, and there's a little bit of play with that. Like, you could certainly do what we did in round one, and maybe somebody like Gabe Yakus is there in round two. Or if you took someone like Akeem Mesidor in round one, maybe a Henachor makes it to an area in round two where you could trade up and not give up that much in order to go get that guy. And then, you might have the best of both worlds. I don't know. I think if it comes to, like, if you can get both an edge rusher and a tackle in round two, I think the best combination of those two things is to go tackle then rusher. Who's on the board? That's important. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Who's on the board matters, right? Okay, so let's see. So we have Anthony Hill. I don't think that Alex Anzalone's on the team next year, FYI. He has been recognized nationally for his disruptive defensive production and leadership, but it doesn't say what he's good at. So I don't like that too much. I've heard that he's more of a run stuffer, which the Lions do not need. They need a coverage linebacker. So, Golday, are you a coverage linebacker? High tackle production, versatility, and run stuffing and pass rushing. No, you are not. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take what I think is the next best thing. And I'm going to take Keontae Scott from Miami to be a nickel-only player. So if Amik Robertson leaves, Donkey Kong, can you throw me a for instance on who you think he would target as a veteran edge player, like a Marcus Davenport-esque kind of signing? If Amik Robertson is on the roster next year, there's a possibility that he's playing outside corner. If that's the case, you need to replace the nickel, which means that you have, I think, if you make the Keontae Scott draft pick, you have one of three guys. You have Keontae Scott, you have Ennis Rakestraw, or you have Terrion Arnold as your nickel. And then which one of those guys wins out, right? Okay, so here we have our third-round pick that we picked up from the Steelers. So here's an interior offensive lineman, Sam Hecht. I've been hearing some good things about Sam Hecht. His 2025 accolades include being named a semifinalist for the William V. Campbell Trophy, the nation's top football scholar athlete. Okay. He has valued for his high football IQ, technical versatility on the interior line, and veteran leadership. His transition to the professional will require leverage and block sustainability when facing elite interior power rushers. And we do have some elite interior power rushers in the NFC North, right? So Devontae Wyatt in Green Bay. The Bears still have the guy they picked up from Atlanta. I know he's falling off, but like he's still really powerful. I believe seems like we play the Buccaneers every year, and they have Vita Vea. You're just guessing that he will get one? Okay. So, well, that's certainly something we'll keep an eye on when it comes to like predicting like mock drafts, right? So if he does end up going with somebody like I've heard Joey Bosa's name, even though I think Eric Schlitt does not like that idea at all. I would wonder if Jadeveon Clowney would be somebody that they would want. Jadeveon Clowney has been for years now a round plug in a square hole, or square plug in a round hole, where it's like Jadeveon Clowney, what he's good at is stopping the run. And everyone thinks that he's like this pass rushing specialist. Like, you could get Jadeveon Clowney to Detroit and have him play the same role as Marcus Davenport, and he probably gives you like solid replacement level production, right? It just depends on what his price is. So I would be looking for guys like that at this point. Let's see. Oh, Danny Denton Smith is on here. Oh, Brian Parker's here. Oh, okay. So I'm going to take Brian Parker. So this is a guy that played at Duke. He was their left tackle, but he is going to he at the Senior Bowl, he was taking snaps at center, and he like the idea is that he is going to adjust to or change positions to be a center. Okay, so some other guys in this range that I really like are, of course, Max Clare is basically like a Sam Laporta clone. The Athletics, Colton Pouncey really likes Kyle Lewis as kind of like I don't even know what. Like, he's 5'11", 225. You know, he's a pass rusher with a lot of speed. I don't particularly want him. Danny Dennis Sutton is somebody that I could see like just being like a good Zach Pascal replacement next year. Skylar Bell is someone I could see them drafting just to basically be like, this guy's the best player on the board. I liked Jacoby Lane when I saw him play against Michigan this last season. Brian Parker, I like him. Keelan Rutledge, I think would be an excellent addition to the interior offensive line. Chandler Rivers is an Amik Robertson's clone. I would love to see him on the team. Like, there's a lot of guys like Justin Jolie, Dalen Everett, Bud Clark. I mean, these are all guys that I would love to see in Lions colors next year. So I really don't know that there's a wrong guy to pick, but like, since we went tackle, let's just lock up offensive line. And like, I also believe between 16 and 18 days, excellent. I also believe the Lions should start looking to use second, third, and fourth round picks as primary backups to already established positions. So like, what do I mean by that? So like, there's this kid, Skylar Bell, right? He's a wide receiver. And I think that you could draft him on, say, round 3 or round 4. And it's like, well, we don't need a receiver. Why are you wasting like effectively like a top 100 pick on a wide receiver when you have St. Brown, J-Mo, Jahmyr Gibbs caught 77 passes last year. Sam Laporta, is someone that they've had a lot of target share for. Like, and then of course you spent 3 third-round picks on Isaac TeSlaa. Like, why would you draft another pass catcher? Well, what happens if, there is whatever. And like, these guys cost nothing. The most expensive thing about them is that they're going to be on the roster, right? So I don't want the drop-off from, say, Kirby Joseph to Thomas Harper, or from like Alex Anzalone to Malcolm Rodriguez. Like, let's invest higher draft picks at depth positions. And then if there is a need for that depth to play, they are effectively guys that would have played starter roles on other teams. And so the worst case scenario with that I can tell from like a plan like that is that your starters play and are healthy. Great. The other guys weren't going to play anyways. And then if the starters get hurt and you have to replace them with starter level talent, then you can do that on a case by case basis. And then when those draft picks, their rookie contracts are up, you can let them walk into free agency, and some other team is going to be like, oh, that's a starter for us. And like, you might get a 4th or a 5th or a 6th round compensatory pick. And then Brad Holmes has the extra bullets in the gun to trade up like he likes to do. Or he can make more draft picks if he needs to fill the roster with rookie contracts for salary cap purposes or whatever, So like I'm a huge fan of like let's invest like starting in the second round. Like let's invest. I mean, I'm a big proponent of the Lions are a point in their roster construction where they should be trading out of the first round and trying to draft as many times as they possibly can in round 2. And because those guys are cheap as shit, and they're basically like borderline first rounders anyways. I don't know. I like the old Patriots method of like let's get out of round 1 and let's take a look at Deion Burks here. Maybe his explosive release and ability to create yardage after the cap, though his average depth of target has varied significantly between his overalls. I was looking for a guy that might be like a good punt returner for us. There's this kid from this guy might be the fastest guy in the entire class. Durability, playmaking consistency, status as a big play specialist. I don't see anything about special teams here. Okay, I'll take this guy, Oscar Delp. So things in his favor. He went to Georgia and has not been arrested for racing his car. I don't know how Georgia has avoided this reputation as being like if you go to Georgia, you're probably going to get arrested or something. I've seen like they've had 23 arrests from their team since 2023, which is 2-3 years at the most. So they're averaging 8 arrests on their team a year, dating back to the last time they won the national title or whatever it was. So, I mean, like, I don't know how Georgia has avoided this, like, ooh, watch out. Like, you're drafting somebody who's going to fuck up, But they are. That's who they are, I guess. I'll draft Oscar Delp as like we're gonna fix the tight end room as well, right? So I might pick another tight end here. Like, let's see if Sam Roush is on the board at pick 155. There goes Caden Curry. All right. Oh, this is the guy, Kevin Coleman. This would be the Khalif Raymond replacement for me. Fast, same size, has experience returning punts, is pretty good at it. Let's see. There goes Royer. Where is Roush? Is he still on the board? Hang on, I'm going to look for tight ends. Leave. Oh, he got drafted at 130. Okay, so that's not going to happen. So I am going to just do a quick scroll here. Okay, I am going to take Kevin Coleman to be the next Khalif Raymond. So I like Khalif Raymond fine. I don't think that he should almost ever be thrown the ball on the offense. Like, nice guy, excellent punt returner, but he should be like a punt returner only at this point, in my opinion. And every target that he gets is a target that like Isaac Tesla doesn't get. And like Isaac Tesla needs to pay off. Otherwise, why are you trading 3 third-round picks for Isaac Tesla? So let's look at who we've picked so far. We've picked Monroe Freeling, Keontae Scott, Brian Parker, Oscar Delp, and Kevin Coleman. So a pretty offensive-heavy draft so far. So I'm going to take Mikhail Kamara here from Indiana. Built on high-level technical refinement and a high motor, playing style allowed him to become one of college football's active leaders in tackles for loss. He sets a firm edge, and okay, I think that's all to the good. So we'll take Kamara. Okay, we're back on the clock here, and this is what, round 6? Yeah, top of round 6. I'll just take Boer Kirker here. And so this will be the draft where we say we're going to fix the offensive line issues. And if the Lions go left tackle and an interior offensive lineman in the same draft this year, I don't know how anybody can say that the Lions haven't put resources or tried their damnedest to fix the offensive line, because like you look every year, they take some offensive lineman, whether or not they work out is obviously up for go. I'm going to take TJ Hall here, 6 foot, 190, played at Iowa, so they love him. Long arms, smooth hips, plays press man because he played at Iowa. So like I think that would be a good depth piece in the secondary. And like I like guys like Rock Ya-Sin, Avonte Maddox, Thomas Harper, Lauren Strickland, but those guys are guys that we are always going to re-sign to a 1 year, $1 million deal. And like, I don't know why you wouldn't take like, why not take like a 4-year corner from Minnesota, or Vanderbilt or something, like who knows how to play the game, like quote unquote football player, right? And then like you're going to pay that dude less and have contract stability with him over the duration of his rookie deal. I guess it's just about teaching them how to be pros. So this is our last pick. So we haven't taken it. Oh, well, we took a tackle who's going to be an interior offensive lineman, but just to get the like highlight off the position here, I'll take this kid from Arkansas. And so that will do it for the draft. We'll take a look at what we did overall here in just a second. But okay, so in this one, and this is probably something close to the draft that like a lot of fans want us to have, which is totally fine. We took Monroe Freeling, left tackle of the center. Nope, left tackle of the future, crushed it. Future Keontae Scott is your future nickel. Brian Parker is a left tackle / center. I wouldn't mind picking up one or two of those guys, to be honest. Oscar Delp is your a guy you're going to put into your new revamped tight end room. Kevin Coleman replaces Khalif Raymond. Mikhail Kamara is a guy that I think will fit right in as depth for the edge. Like, I know that guys like Levi Muzarike and Josh Paschal are still on the roster this season, but like, I don't know that you could cut either one of those guys and it wouldn't be a big deal. Boerkircher is another dude you add to Delp, and then we see how that room shakes out. Cornerback depth with TJ Hall and basically like a miscellaneous throw-in interior offensive lineman that I don't really know will even make the roster. So like, to Donkey Kong's point, we are going to have more clarification on guys like Decker, Glasgow coming up here in the next 2 weeks. That'll help determine which direction the Lions want to go in both free agency and the draft. They will probably find a guy to bring in to lock down the position, and in the sense that like you could start that guy and he'll be all right. Like he won't be like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here, right? And then, but I still think that the best thing that you can do is present continuity on the offensive line. So what that means is not moving Penei Sewell to left tackle, not moving Tate Ratledge to center, and then filling these holes the best that you can with what's available in both free agency and the draft. And so I do like all three of these drafts for the Lions. Whether it was the first one where we went with Caleb Downs, special player, I think that anytime the Lions can add like a truly special player to the roster, they should do it via the draft. Then and the second one, we got Sonny Styles, which I think would give the Lions maybe the best linebacker duo in the NFL. But like either way, like we've already had like the contracts of like DJ Reader and Alex Anzalone void, so they are off the team as of right now, and I don't think that they will be back with the Lions, And then I wonder if there will be any cuts, like guys that are under contract control that the Lions decide to move on from. So I'm sure that we will get more than one surprise from Brad Holmes over the next 3 months. We just some updates about the channel. Like Mike and I are still trying to um, schedule that kind of like group, like 8-man mock that we have done the last couple years. That will probably be closer to the draft this year than it has been in recent years. And then we are still trying to lock down whether or not Mike will be around in state for the actual draft. And if he is, then we will live stream it like we have done for the last 3 or 4 years. And other than that, I will be back next week, probably on Friday, to highlight any kind of news and notes from around the Detroit Lions. We'll run through a couple mock drafts, talk about free agency and like who might be a fit at what price point for the Lions. And otherwise, stay warm, stay safe, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.